the Vedas. He has continued preaching in his areas as well as other cultural areas, forming NIOS, North American Institute for Oriental and Classical. We would like to welcome Maharaj in the ParthSarthi Foundation. Please bless us with your association, Maharaj, and we are looking forward and very eager to hear from you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Hari Lila.
Our
everyone.
Haribo.
Jai.
Glad to see
Hari
you.
Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya
Hare Nama Krishna
Yadavaya Namaha.
Bhal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan.
Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan.
Giridhari Gopinatha Madan Mohan.
Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Moha.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda
Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita.
Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata
Gita.
Bhagavata Gita. Bhagavata Gita.
Bhagavad Gita.
Sri Rup Sri Sanata Bhattaraghu Bhatta.
Sri Rupa Sanatana Bhattara
Raghunath.
Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath.
Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa
Raghunath.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare
Shri Shri Rupa Sanatan Ki Jai, Shri Shri Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and I'm Sankirtan Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya. Jnananjana Shalakaya.
Jnananjana Salakaya.
Chakshurun Militam Jaina.
Chakshurun Militam Yena.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Now for my obeisances to him. So I guess, can we share our screen? Oh, I need permission to share my screen. A PowerPoint show here.
Yes, Maharaj, we're doing it.
Okay.
Padma Mataji, anybody who is a co-host, can you guys help?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Can you make Hanumatpresaka Maharaj host? So
yes, Mataji. I make it before, but might be is wrong with my side. I'm sorry about that. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. I'm so sorry, Mataji.
We got it here.
Jai Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Oh, it's my mistake. I make Mitravinda Mataji as a host. I'm sorry about that, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Can you see our PowerPoint show?
Yes, Maharaj, we can see.
So according to my understanding, we're at the ParthSarthi Foundation. I am Hanumatpresaka Swami right now. Tonight we are reviewing Bhagavad Gita 5:1-6. Today is 2023523, 2023, May 23rd. Very nice. Nice drawing of Krishna and Arjuna discussing the Bhagavad Gita. Very, very nice picture of Prabhupada presenting Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. So we have Hari, Supreme Lord in His holy name, Guru, source of Srila, in the form of Srila Prabhupada, Vaishnava, in terms of all of us together, reading Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay. So here are the 6 texts, and I put the Sanskrit here, and maybe with your microphones closed there, I'll chant, and you can chant along in your ashrams. Arjuna uvacha sanyasang karmanang Krishna punaryogam cha sangsasi yachcheya itayorekam tam me bruhi sunishchitam. Shri Bhagavan uvacha sanyasa karma yogascha nishreyasya karavav ubau kayos tu karmasya sanyasa karma yoga vishishyate jneyah sa nitya sanyasi yo na dvesti na kangsati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchate. I'm going to stop for a second. Try and move my information bar. I did it. Sankhya yogo katag balaha pravadanti tanna panditaha ekamapi astita samyag ubayor vindate palam yat sankhya prapyate stanam tadyogair api gamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha ya pashyati sapashyati sanyasastu mahabaho ukamaptu mayogataha yoga yukto muhir brahma nachirin adigachati. Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, action in the consciousness. Okay, next slide. And here we have the just the translations. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. And then again, you recommend work in devotion. Now you finally tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial." Somebody's microphone is open there, and we're hearing the gasping sound of furniture moving and whales swimming in the courtyard. One thing here that is striking me is that Prabhupada says, "Tell me to renounce work." And the contextual meaning for me, and I think many people in this industrialized world, is that work means your job. What's your work? Oh, I'm a plumber. Oh, I'm a software engineer. I'm a housewife. So to renounce your work, it sounds like giving up your means of livelihood. One time Prabhupada says that it says in knowledge. He says knowledge does not include how to do things, the livelihood. So that is shilpa. Knowledge means knowledge of spirituality and these things. So it's a difficult job translating, choosing English words. Of course, Prabhupada had the advantage of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta, who were preaching in the English language, and sometimes he directly says he uses their words and so on. But it's something I think it's nice to investigate as we learn Sanskrit more from our English perspective, or people who have the advantage of knowing it more from Hindi perspective or like that. It gives more profound basis. And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial. The personality of Godhead said. So says Sri Bhagavan. Very powerful word, no? Very powerful word. There's no real confusion about what this word means. Prabhupada translates it as the personality of Godhead. That's, of course, a whole discussion of what the word Godhead means. Well, but it's very, very so obviously clear that the Bhagavad Gita and the whole Mahabharata is presenting Krishna as somebody extremely special, the most special. The personality of Godhead said, replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than work of renunciation of work. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty Arjuna. In the right-hand side here, we have a fruity result. I guess it's vanilla, strawberry, pumpkin, lemon. Oh, that is grape, blueberry, another kind of pumpkin, and chocolate. So if I'm thinking about taking this as a fruitive activity for my egoistic sense gratification, then this is a source of bondage, even if I want to offer it to others for the same purpose. But I'm thinking, oh, let me offer this to Radha Krishna, the best of all the ice cream. Then it becomes a source of liberation. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are accurately learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. Analytical study of the material world, which is kind of like science. Science is like the Sankhya aspect, but of course science is extremely tied in with engineering. And engineering and medical science or application is, science is funded, science is done if it's going to produce sense gratification. But there are some people, of course, in some way called pure science and theoretical physics and things like that, which are or mathematicians who are just really engaged in the analytical study of the world. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Merely renouncing all activity, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. Okay. Now here again, the same text. It's nice to hear them 4, 5, 6, 7, 15 times, but here we've added in some of the word by word meanings. Arjuna said, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. So the Sanskrit is sannyasam karmanam. Okay. Karma is the work, and sannyasam. Of course, sannyas, and I think here it's a very intimate connection, refers to also the Varna ashram system and the actual ashram of sannyas, where one is supposed to be engaged in sannyas. As we understand, the word san means complete, like in sankirtan, many people together. And nyasa means renunciation. Of course, in all the ashram, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha is nyasa, but here we're talking about sannyasa, when finally relinquishes everything. Sannyasa karma. So in previous chapters, there's been discussion of Kshatriya karma, Vaishya karma, Brahmana karma, Sri karma, and very similar to Kshatriya dharma, Vaishya dharma, Sri dharma. I say that more dharma is like the nature, and then karma is like the activity. The activities that a guna karma, the activities that we are prescribed and form a complex of things in our life. As a sannyasi, for example, I have a complex of different kinds of activities and rituals and then things that I'm doing, I engage in. As a married lady, somebody has the same things, or as a young single girl, or as a student boy, or kshatriya. So that's what the work here Prabhupada seems to be describing. And of course, it's very ideas there in the West, especially this great classic like Hamlet, the greatest Western classic, and continuously a part of our culture. The ideas and the drama that's involved in it, the social relations. And there's very much the idea of destiny. And even Prabhupada, I think, even mentions that the word karma and the word destiny are very, very similar, So you should renounce all these things that have just come to you by your destiny. It's so easy just to fall into them and just do them. They get to hate your neighboring country, to love your family. This is all things that you're destined to do. And so that's the question in Hamlet: how much can we now renounce them? How much do we have to do them? Okay. And then again, you recommend work and devotion. So what is work and devotion? Yoga. Now, of course, many people would become very upset. Oh, the Prabhupada is translating this word yoga as devotional service. Then coming on down to number 2, the personality of God replied, 5.2, the renunciation of work, sannyasaha, and work and devotion, karma yoga. It's karma yoga. Of course, it also could be sannyas karma and karma yoga, are both good for liberation. Nishreyasya karau. Karau, doing. Nishreyasya. But of the two, work and devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Karma sannyasa karma yoga vishishyate. Karma sannyasa karma yoga vishishyate. Work and devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Karma sannyasa karma yoga vishishyate. Okay, karma yoga is better. Okay, the one who doesn't hate the fruits, hate or desire the fruits, who's equal to all these things is liberated. 5.4. Only the ignorant, the word for ignorant here is balaha, speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths obtains the results of both. Okay. And then the 5.5 says, if you know these things, you understand that they're both the same, different pathways to the same goal. 5.6, merely renouncing all activities, karma, sannyas, yet not engaging in devotional service, yoga, of the Lord cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme. And what is the supreme? Brahma. It's called Brahma. So we hear the Bhagavad Gita is described as Gita Upanishad. In the Katha Upanishad, the Kali-Santara Upanishad, the Isa Upanishad. There's so many Upanishads, each one associated with one of the different 4 Vedas. And it's a very incredible system of a spiritual upliftment, of knowledge, of culture, of the Vedas. And of course, it was extending over a vast tract of land, Bharatvarsha, but on into Cambodia, and even apparently, strong indication all the way through the Middle East. The word al is Allah, is everywhere. Understood, representing as the Son, the Supreme Lord. So many other people also describing how India and Bharatvarsha have been the radiating source of spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge, these things. And so we're looking at it though, and it's 5,000 years old. Even of course archaeologically, and we look at old things like the pyramids in Giza, with the Sphinx. Such an incredible structure, and it's right there, it's stone. To look at and to examine and investigate, and it rather than solving the mysteries of the pyramids, it's more like the more they investigate, the more mysteries will appear. And this incredible depth of material knowledge and ideas and so many things like that is integration with the celestial activities. So Bhagavad Gita is, and the Vedic literature is an incredible world. And for them to try and bring it down into this industrialized man, we say the Western world, but Africa is also Western and also South America. But to me, and also probably mentioned, it's more like the industrialized, society that we're talking about, and people developing very simple systems of logic and mathematics. And so Prabhupada had to try and put it into this format. So let's go ahead here then. Okay, then looking at the purports, text number 1. In this 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that work in devotional service is karma yoga. It's better than dry mental speculation, sankhya. Devotional service is easier than the latter because being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. In the 2nd chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by buddhi yoga or devotional service was also explained therein. So to me, it's it would just say that buddhi yoga can do it. Buddhi yoga is great, but it doesn't give any kind of practical description of how to do buddhi yoga. In the 3rd chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge, okay, so we're talking about knowledge, sankhya, renunciation. The means to acquire knowledge in sankhya is to renounce things, stop smoking, see what happens. Stop drinking water, see what happens. So jnana and vairagya, sankhya are very much integrated. In the 3rd chapter was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge, sankhya, has no longer has any duties to perform. In the 4th chapter, so you see Krishna's getting a nice summary, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. And the next verse says, when you see the truth, you will know that all beings are in me, everything's controlled by me, and you never hate or fear anybody. Okay. However, at the end of the 4th chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. So there's the point. We engage in karma, but with full jnana. Okay. So the word yoga is being used here. The Prabhupada is translating yoga as devotional service. So usually in our modern context, and even for Indian people, on the right hand there is a yogi. That's how we think of yoga. And the word yoga is just dominated by Shankara's, and Patanjali's ideas. Patanjali. When we say yoga, we think of the mechanical process doing these things. But our suggestion is that when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, yoga meant something quite different. It was actually the context was actually the 2 words religion, which comes from re ligare, as in ligament, to reconnect. So, and yoga or yukta or yoke means to connect. So that was the actual sense of the word when the Bhagavad Gita was being spoken, was to be being connected up by your varna ashram, by whatever it is, be reconnected, but not through a process of mechanical gymnastics and mental gymnastics and these things. Radhika Raman and Krishna Kshetra were got a contract with with the Princeton press, a very, very powerful press, to do a summary with highlights from the Bhagavatam. And they did a lot of work, and it would probably be a very powerful standard textbook for many years. And so, but they were afraid, as I remember he told me, that they would have to give translations to words that they thought Prabhupada was being like, very, very devotional. He was translating the word in a devotional sense, and it wasn't really the translation. But as they actually began to look at the dictionary definitions, the Nirukti, the Amarakosha, there are dictionaries there, and they're accepted by Indologists, by everything. There are commentaries on them. And they give the definitions. Okay, there's a primary definition of the word, there's a secondary definition, there's a third definition. And to their surprise, the primary definitions were always in the sense of devotional aspect, the monotheistic tradition, and like that. And later, with the Patanjali and other people, then this idea of yoga being a bunch of postures snuck in. So Prabhupada is trying to present it as it is in a very short amount of time, in the Bhagavad Gita. So yoga in this sense means karma yoga, devotional service. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work. Renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyasa, or renunciation in knowledge, should be altogether free from all kinds of activity, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. Work and renunciation. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether, or work with full knowledge. That little question mark. Okay, text 2. 30 activities. Seeking sense gratification. Now Krishna is talking to Arjuna and telling him, giving the answer to his question. 30 activities seeking sense gratification are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different bodies, therefore continuing with material bondage perpetually. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:4-6 confirms this as follows. So many of us, we're not seeking like intense, illicit activities of gratification, which violate the basic rules of Dharma, breaking the 4 principles to get our eating, sleeping, mating, and defending in glorious senses. But even to be comfortable, not to have cold, to have a little bit of fire in the house, to have some reasonable food, to be free from being attacked and harassed by enemy armies, to have peace in mind, our social relationships to be respected and appreciated, not to be afraid of death. All these things, we're seeking bodily comfort. And so it may not be a very, very deep, intense endeavor, but it's going to produce a gentle but binding result. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita to me is very, very basic, but in the purports, Prabhupada is quoting all these more advanced things. So this set of verses here, this is very, very kind of significant verses. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:4-6. And right in our first book for neophytes, Upadeshamrita, this is also being cited. You're being cited again in Bhagavad Gita. And I don't know, maybe also being cited in Isopanishad. Really, maybe about 50 different concepts or 30 different concepts are being repeated again and again with the same sources. Now, it's very easy to memorize the verse numbers here because the simple verse is 5, 5, 5. Okay. And on the right, the picture tells you what's happening. Rishabdev is giving instructions to his 100 sons, the chief amongst whom was Bharata. So this is a big part of the Bhagavatam. Instructions by Rishabdev. Bharata becomes king. Bharata preaches to Maharaj Raghuvana. And then also the 9 Yogendras are also some of these sons. So Rishabdev, very principal person. Okay, I'll chant now and you can chant with me. Nam pramata kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya aprinoti sadhu manyayata atmanoyam asana piklesha da asa deha parabhavasthavara bodha jato yavana jignasata atma tattvam yavakriyasthavadidam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha evam manakarma vasam prayukte avidyayat mani upadiyamane patirna yavan mai vasudeve namurcha deho deha yogena tavat. So what did Rishabdev tell his son? Well, let's go to the next slide. People are mad after sense gratification. And if you impede them, they'll become really mad at you. They do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life. As long as he makes no inquiry into his real identity. Shakespeare says this, Socrates says this, Camus, Albert Camus, Nobel laureate. Again and again, people who are very respected in society made this point that the most important thing is to ask this question: how to get free from death and all the things related to it. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. He's not engaged in self-gratification. He's engaged in sense gratification, trying to make our jacket and hat happy. As long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, he has to transmigrate from one bodhi to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Doesn't say Krishna, doesn't say Mahavishnu, doesn't say Ram, it says Vasudeva. He who resides everywhere, to the omnipresent person. The omnipresent person. Okay, we're taking a step in the right direction. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. So that's what Rishabdev was telling his sons. Prabhupada is telling us again and again what the Bhagavatam is saying. Therefore, Prabhupada continues, Jnana, or knowledge that one is not the material body, but the spirit soul, is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action in the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthens one's advancement in real knowledge. If we understand that somehow or other we have a suspicion, we believe that the deities in our house, in the temple, are not just statues, and the devotional service is not something coming from my senses, my sentiment, my mind, but we have this experience of chanting, following principles, and association of devotees and intense kirtan. We begin to know that we have an existence beyond this karmatmaka. What it was says that there's a word colored. Our activities are colored with sense gratification. So we're not, when they're pure for even a moment. So when we're acting in that, some of that knowledge, when we're serving the deities, then serving the holy names, then what helps us get even more knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation and fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart of a conditioned soul. Well, again, here's a whole word of how Prabhupada is translating heart. Sentimental feelings, fluttering of the muscle in the chest, or buddhi, intelligence, actually purify the deep subconscious, knowledge. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the results of fruitive action, so that one need not descend to the material platform. Okay, let's go ahead here. What time is it? I'll look at my watch. Okay, you do that. Okay, well, I'm doing pretty well. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the results of fruitive activities, so that one need not descend to the material platform. Maybe everybody in morning time, you're chatting, you're free from all these things, but the day passion starts to influence you, the night is very strong. You want to go to the mall with your family for buying, investing, doing whatever things are there. Mode of ignorance comes. But if we're on real knowledge, then we don't have to descend because we have knowledge about how to live. Knowledge means taste. Knowledge means activities. Knowing how to ride a bicycle means enjoying how to ride. Okay? Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is the first purport. Very nice. Is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. Renunciation, I won't smoke. I won't eat idli vada and sambar before noontime. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as it is confirmed by Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 258. And of course, these are verses quoted again and again. Prapanchi kataya bhujya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam phagu katai katya katyate. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, then renunciation is called incomplete. Okay. And here the conclusion of the first purport. Renunciation is complete when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord, and no one should claim proprietorship over anything. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything in Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. This perfect form of action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by sannyasi in the Mayavadi school. So we may get some idea about this if we think, my God, this requires so much acceleration of life, and it requires becoming inattentive to maintaining my knowledge of who is my family, who is my society, what are they doing, how are they acting, how do I react to them. It does. But the thing is that it's not impersonal. Prabhupada gives the example of an airplane. Okay, we can fly an airplane off the ground, off above the clouds in the beautiful sunshine. But he says, unless one gets some source of fuel on that platform, then you have to go down. So, of course, the fuel is Vibhava, Krishna's smile, Krishna's activities, Krishna's mercy. Krishna's so kind. Krishna's kindness and mercy never deviate. We can always count on them, more than we can count on beer or tobacco or our family members. Yeah. But we have to actually know that and be experiencing that and being able to wake up. That's the point. It's natural. It's not we're doing something. No, we're just returning, going back to God, back to our natural position. And we're doing it by acting as much as we can in Krishna consciousness with as much knowledge as we have. And then that wakes up more knowledge. Okay, coming to the end of this show now. Text 4. I think number three was kind of a repeat. The aim of analytical study in the material world is to find the soul of existence. The aim of analytical study, Sankhya, or science, of the material world is to find the soul of existence, the God particle, something boson, Higgs boson. The soul of the material world is Vishnu, Vasudev, or the super soul. Devotional service to the Lord entails service to the super soul. One process is to find the root of the tree, and the other is to water the root. The real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engages himself in the service of the Lord. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two, because the aim of both is Vishnu. Those who do not know the ultimate end say the purpose of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same. But one who has learned knows the unifying aim of these different processes. So, of course, we were doing things in science and the Vedas, science and religion, several programs along those lines, the Sukhdamata and so on. And this is the point that religion is coming across to some degree in the Western world uses to go right away and serve God. There's some people say no, religion has a completely different goal than science. Science and religion is slavery, to rituals and useless ideas, and developing a class of priests and so on who enslave people. But no, people actually know that whichever goal you're adopting is the same result. Next slide. The real purpose of philosophical research is to find out the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. In the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter. And in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. You fast on Ekadasi, you do different things, and you get a taste. Oh my God, yeah, I want more of that. Okay, so by doing the austerities, then you actually endeavoring, to get a taste. It's not just that I fast and do different austerities like that. No, I know I'm doing this. I got to. What's the taste I'm supposed to be getting by doing this? What's the flavor? And you realize that it's there. So of course, it becomes a part of your life then. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially one appears to involve detachment and the other appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see this sees things as they are. Okay, there's a very nice picture of one yogi engaging in worshiping and installing some deities, with Srila Prabhupada chanting mantras. It's the purport of the last text. There are two classes of sannyasis, or persons in the renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sankhya philosophy, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Bhagavatam philosophy, which affords the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutras, but use their commentary called Sharirakya Bhasya, written by Shankaracharya. The students of the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavata school are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord according to the Pancharatrika regulations. And therefore the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagements in the transcendental service of the Lord. They can cook for Krishna, sing for Krishna, clean the temple for Krishna, mow the yard for the lawn for Krishna, for the cleaning the temple. So it's much more natural process. There's no big jump involved. Just start taking your activities whether they are and progressively engage them in Krishna's service. Now, was Prabhupada writing this for the hippies who were becoming his followers? That's just about the only people who were joining to a large degree. Of course, there were, more common people weren't joining, and also the jnanis and professors are common in general. So it seems that a lot of this Bhagavad Gita is being written for the future, when people have developed some knowledge and everything else of the Vedic culture. We've been engaging for hours and hours in the last few days and working on editing these movies we're doing. And then as a result of them now, big professors, Professor Miguel Polo, today we had an hour meeting with him and Abhiram about really initiating strong studies of Sanskrit culture in Latin America, Sanskrit language. And it seems that now in the world, so we're suggesting that they start off with a seminar on Chandika Pandit. Yeah. Because he's well known. He was the advisor to Chandragupta. Chandragupta was fighting Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great's Brahmin was Aristotle. So, and there's some Sanskrit there. You can begin to understand the context. So it's really not to just a dry understanding of a machine language. No, it's understanding how it's a part of a culture. And as I engage in the words and that kind of stuff, and different words he's using and so on, the vocabulary, then people get a taste. And some people say, I want to do this. Okay, then from a workshop, they go to an entire semester. And after that, starting to get enough people interested. And Paschatya Desha, how many people will become interested? What's going to happen? And maybe, there'll be people that really aren't interested. After a very quick time, they'll go to India to actually complete their studies, to advance their studies. And with more knowledge and everything else, then you can express it in so many ways. If you understand bicycles, you can help people to ride their bicycles, repair their bicycles, build bicycles. But with more knowledge, you can also then go to, to automobiles and other things like that. So developing a knowledge of Sanskrit culture, and it gives us multiple engagements. Okay, so more to come. Come again. It's nice. Prabhupada talking in two different moods. What was he talking about? Two different moods in the same meeting. So, any questions or comments or complaints or anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, are we taking the question answer session now, Prabhu? Maharaj? Hello, Prabhu. We are going to do the question answer session. Anybody who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand from Maharaj. Please raise your hand if you have any questions for Maharaj. Okay, Mihika, you are the first person. Hare Krishna, Mihika, you can ask your question to Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaji. Thank you very much for the class. So I just had a small question that we get voices from the inside, and for me I get sometimes two options, and when I'm kind of confused in one thing or another thing, get two voices. So I don't understand which one's correct, and I end up doing sometimes wrong, sometimes correct, and I don't understand which one to do.
So Prabhupada gave because we're trying to understand Teshamevanu Kamparta Mahamagyana Jamta Mahat Nasyami Amabhavasto Gyana Deepena Bhaspata. That, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. These are the essence of the Bhagavad Gita in 4 verses. Krishna says, Tesham Satata Yuktanam. With those who are always engaged in my yoga, in my bhakti yoga, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam, with affection, with nice motivation, I give them the knowledge by which they can come to me. The next verse, he says, I do that from within the heart. So very essential. So probably another place he says, this means initiated devotee, second initiation. Because the time you take second initiation, and maybe you don't even do it formally, maybe you just take Harinam Diksha or something, but you're becoming purified by chanting. And then when you come to that level of Brahman, of being a Brahmana or these things, then you can engage in the deity worship. And so if we're engaged in worshiping Krishna in this form, in our house or our own Shalagram Shila, or even in our heart, if we're the sannyas ashram or in the temple, then there's 24 hours. It's just what Prabhupada was saying in the last purport, Pancharatrika Vidhi. You have to wake up the deity at this time. You have to take a bath first. You have to do these things. You have to cook. You have to do arti. It's just, we're engaged 24 hours a day. Okay, now it's time to rest the body. We have to gratify the senses, but not for ourselves, because they are Krishna's senses, and they need to have rest so they can recover and prepare themselves. It's at nighttime. The garbage men go around. The people change the light bulbs and the traffic light bulbs at night. It's the same way when you rest and you sleep, your body is big physiological changes, and tremendous amount of repair on the muscle tissues that were stretched during the day and need to be fixed up again. So, as we become purified, then we can start to trust our intelligence. When we become advanced brahmanas and we become sannyasis or Goswamis, and that's everybody, children, men, women, everybody has to become Goswami in their own way. And then we even more can distinguish even more, which is the devil talking, which is God talking. Prabhupada gives a nice example. He says, it's like a mother. She trains her little child to recognize when he or it has to urinate. Okay. Oh, no, yeah. And then that little child says, oh, I have to go and pass water. Okay. They begin to recognize the internal feelings, because it's further just spaced out, looking outwards to try and suck on something or something, or see something. But then you start to become conscious of their internal sentiments. And then with some help, the training from Guru, Mother, then we begin to recognize, well, that means my body has to pass water and so on. And nice stories about this in terms of, potty training, how we were trained and how we train people, and what, things that interfere with the process and so on. So he said, in the same way the mother trains the child to recognize the impulses of, of the body in this sense, same way the spiritual master trains the disciple to recognize the impulses of the super soul, so that the disciple can be guided when the spiritual master is not perfectly present. So the way to distinguish these things is to go on in bhakti yoga, every day chanting japa early in the morning with attention. And you begin to see it. My mind's attacking me. This is attacking me. Oh, if I get up and walk, it's good. If I don't walk, it's good. So you just start to develop your yoga, and then Vasudev, like it's saying in these verses, you begin to distinguish Vasudev. So in the beginning, we always confirm our inspirations by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Mataji, I'm inspired by these two options. Which is the best? And you talk to different people about things. It was important to talk to 6 different people about what you're feeling in terms of something, maybe your career choice or so many things, And then, of course, there's Prabhupada's books, which are giving us, if you go on reading, every time I read these things, I discover new things, on and on, And of course, some books are for more advanced people. Bhagavad Gita's ABC. If you got that down, okay, you're bored with Bhagavad Gita. Well, you know your ABCs. And you go to Bhagavatam stories, okay, then the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And by that point, the whole world is a book. Everything that's happening to us is teaching us about Krishna. We're so purified. So understanding your level of advancement, and am I on the second? Am I ready for second initiation? And even then you can start trusting your inspiration. Okay, but we still confirm it with Prabhupada's books, with chanting the holy names, by associating with Krishna, and by association of devotees, God, the Brahmanas, and the spiritual master. So we always check with these things: Prabhupada's books and association of devotees. Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. The next question is from Madhu Manjari Mataji. Manjari Mataji, please ask your question. You have been unmuted.
He's 12,000 miles away.
Manjari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna devotees.
Right.
Obeisance, Guru Maharaj. I have a question regarding to the translation and of the text number 5, when it said that analytic studies as this is the same as devotional service.
I'm going to go ahead here.
Because of the aim is the same.
Yeah, I want to close my PowerPoint show. Close PowerPoint show, okay. Then I want to go to, okay, there it is, text number 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yat sankhya prapyate stanam tad yoga apigamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha ya pashyati sapashyati. One who knows the position reached by so and sankhya can be who therefore sees pashyati, analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Again, I understand your question. Again, it's like saying those who see that a bicycle and a automobile are on the same level, sees things as they are.
Yeah, because the aim is the same. My question is, I'm just trying to appreciate for the aim, because the purpose is to know Krishna, and by that knowledge you will understand yourself and the relationship that you have with him, and naturally you will end up doing devotional service. And through devotional service, is the process and the aim at the same time. But my point is, I'm just trying to understand what Krishna is referring to with devotional service at this point, because we study in Nectar of Devotion that pure devotional service is free of jnana and karma, it's anukulena. So what kind of devotional service Krishna is referring at this point by comparing
He's
with
talking
analytic
about
study?
karma yoga.
With analytic study?
No, that's Sankhya. He's talking, he says karma yoga. Karma yoga. So karma means activities, especially in terms of Varna ashram. We're involved in a certain kind of body, certain kind of complex. Okay, that's universal. Everybody, Yom and everybody else. Okay, I've got my persona. The psyche is behind that. So being involved in a female persona, a male persona, a Kshatriya persona, a Shudra, Brahmana, Kshatriya. Yeah, that's what the Vedas are giving us. Hey, here's a way to use your karma properly. And here's a way to use it so it will connect you up to Krishna. Use your karma this way. So that it's not talking about jnana yoga so much, but karma yoga matures as jnana yoga. That's when the Sankhya begins to really become a part. And we can see that the two are connected. By understanding the hierarchy of the senses, that the sound is the most subtle element, that's Sankhya. But then in any situation in our bhakti yoga, we're always thinking about what am I hearing? What's going on? What's the situation? So that the two then become integrated. And one nice example is Sir Isaac Newton. He's considered, some people consider him the greatest scientist to ever live, and the greatest Sankhya philosopher. He was trying to analyze things and break them down, understand what is light, what are the laws of gravity, the laws of mechanics. Very, very powerful. He developed calculus and so much analytical knowledge. And he did all that from the ages, I think it was 18 to 21 years old or something like that, 4 years. In 4 years, he discovered the basis of everything. And then before that, he was engaged in karma yoga and theology. Actually, more than karma yoga, he was engaged, in jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana mishra bhakti yoga, karma mishra bhakti yoga, because he was a part of the Christian culture, which is a bhakti yoga culture. So people ask him, well, why did you give up, spiritual studies and spiritual work study matter for some time. And he said, I never gave up, spiritual activities. He said, there's two books, right? You notice? There's two books for understanding God. The Bible, and nature, where God is writing with his own hand. So if you've got that attitude when you're engaging in Sankhya, and then it's very good, it's very useful. We do it. How much Sankhya is there in the Bhagavad gita? It never stops. Because, if you got the right attitude, then it's a wonderful tool. Karma yoga means let me get up, let me stop smoking, let me do this, let me do that, let me do this, let me do that, let me possess this, let me possess that. Okay, I'm linking up to karma. A little higher than by doing the rituals, I begin to figure out, hey, this is like that in all circumstances. This is like that in all circumstances. So then I start to become a wise person. And so then we're doing Jnana Mishra Bhakti Yoga. We're doing stuff, but now we're doing it to develop my wisdom of things. Let me watch these people. And then when that matures, then we can really, in all circumstances, we can focus on the transcendence. So it becomes dhyana. And we're chanting our rounds now. We're doing it. We're chanting. We understand dhyana. But now finally we come to the point where we can really focus on the meaning, everything else. And then it starts to really purify the heart, develop our knowledge of heart. And then it becomes nothing but a pure bhakti yoga. And then finally we wake up. So yeah.
Then is when Krishna said that when you see those things in the same level, then you will see things as they are. So that because at the end it's bhakti yoga when it's properly the motivation is right. Even Sankhya.
Yeah.
In that way. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Otherwise, there's powerful temptation when we start to develop mystical powers and abilities. I mean, people don't start to discover they can go out on the street, they can stop people, they can influence them, they can distribute stuff. And then they get tempted, and they stop at that rung of the yoga ladder. They forget the purpose of Sankhya. For some time.
Okay. Guru Maharaj, may I ask another question if it's possible, or should I expect somebody else have another question?
One more.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious when you were replying or answering the previous question about the Guru training the disciple to understand the voice of Paramatma in the heart. I wonder how that takes place. And for example, how you train your disciples in that way.
No, it's the basic process is chant Hare Krishna as much as possible. Prabhupada says we say this chant Hare Krishna and you will become happy. But he said this is like telling somebody who has a disease, go to the hospital, you'll become cured. It's a fact. But once you get there, you've got to deal properly with the reception people. You've got to follow this instruction. You've got to open your mouth. You've got to, so many things. But the basic principle is there. So acting as Diksha Guru, I'm just taking on behalf of the Parampara, saying chant 16 enthusiastic rounds a day and follow the 4 principles strictly, and you're guaranteed to come to the platform of Rupa Maharaj. And understand the super soul and Mahavishnu and everybody else. Then specifically, I make myself available, through classes online, through Twitter, through every 2 weeks we do this austerity of publishing a periodical and the blog, and then people get involved. We have different projects, and then people can see on the blog, well, this is happening, that's happening. And then people can start to get involved with us, not in terms of Diksha Guru, but also in terms of, it's a Shiksha Guru, in terms of Sankirtan partner of Prabhupada's movement. So it's what Prabhupada's training us. And then he has temple presidents, he has sannyasis, he has brahmanas, he has, Kanista Adhikaris, Madhyama Adhikaris, Uddhana Adhikaris, ashram gurus, for different things. So by staying in ISKCON, by staying in Prabhupada's ISKCON, staying in Prabhupada's ISKCON, then we learn. Yeah, how do you learn? You see other people doing it and you say, oh, I can do that. Well, that's how you do it. Yeah. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mataji.
You're-
Thank you. Anybody else
ISKCON.
has any questions for Maharaj? Anybody
Thank you,
else?
Maharaj, so much for giving us a very nice explanation of all the verses. And we hope that you will keep continue to ParthSarthi Foundation to give your association, Vani Association, at least till you come personally here.
The conclusion of all this work, if we stick with it, is in the end we'll kill our martial arts teacher, and we'll kill all of our cousins, and we'll kill our grandfather. That's, if you stay with the Bhagavad Gita, that's what you're going to end up doing, right? The conclusion of using the Bhagavad Gita is to kill all of your cousins. You should tell people that when they sign up. If you follow this book, you'll end up murdering all your cousins with a clear conscience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody still have any question? Last question for Maharaj before we end our session today.
Okay. Who's here? Let me look. Go ahead and look here. What do we got? We got stop sharing. Okay. And 1 second. Down here it has participants, and there is Man Harini Devi Dasi Hari Lila Das Amit. Some strange person. Abhay Narayan, Abhishek Singh, Arjuna Das, Arjun Singh Ta Hokor. Oh my God, it's going so quickly here. Bhakti by Baba Deji Dasi, Carlos Roll, he's from Chile. Dhamini Devi Dasi, Darshana, Hari Balaba, Ishwari Radha, Kamala Shah, Kevin G. A lot of people from Nashville. Kiran Madhu Singh, Madhu Manjari, we got many Madhus. Mina's iPhone. Mihika, Nilam Kiran's iPhone. Okay. And we got Niranja, Tagore Sundaras, Rani G, Saroj, Sharabi Singhai, Shashi Prakash. My God, he's an advocate, the Supreme Court of India. He's the advocate for all the monkeys in Vrindavan. Yeah, his clients. Shri Radha Balaba Das Tanu, Vinanarayan, Vrishabhananandani, okay, from Argentina. Yashoda Devi Dasi. And 1202701. Okay. So thank you all for your association. This is becoming a very, very important part of our Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So we'll end the session here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha krupa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Swami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone, and see you next week. Hari Bol. Any last comment, Manhariri Mataji, from you?
No, Prabhuji, we are very, very thankful that Maharaj came today. Thank you, everyone, for your association. Thank you, Hare Krishna.